officer, stop! Police officer, stop! Drop the sword! Like close more unit.
Drop the weapon. Drop it now. A chilling command echoes through a quiet East London neighbourhood. But what happened next would leave the UK reeling in shock. This is the story of Marcus Arduini Monzo, a man who went from a quiet, seemingly harmless 36-year-old living in Newham to a samurai sword-wielding killer responsible for one of the most horrifying rampages in recent British memory. In just 22 minutes, he beheaded a 14-year-old schoolboy, wounded 4 others, and terrorized an entire community, all while believing he was carrying out a spiritual mission. Marcus Arduini Monzo was born in Brazil in 1988. He was the youngest of 3 siblings and was raised in a middle-class household with modest values. In 2013, Monzo moved to the UK and settled in Newham, East London. On paper, Marcus seemed ordinary. He lived quietly, had no significant criminal record, and spent much of his time at home. But beneath the surface, something was unraveling. Monzo had an obsession with Japanese weaponry, especially katanas, the traditional swords of ancient samurai warriors. He wasn't just a collector. To Marcus, these blades were sacred. He spent thousands of pounds on imported handmade swords. He filmed himself unboxing the weapons, describing them with almost religious awe. "Look at this. Handmade in Japan," he whispered to the camera. But that fascination quickly spiraled into delusion. In 2022, Monzo began attending ayahuasca retreats in the Amazon and parts of India. Ayahuasca, a powerful hallucinogenic brew, is often used in tribal ceremonies meant to bring spiritual enlightenment. But for Marcus, it seemed to do the opposite. He came back, changed, paranoid, talking about spirits, about being a chosen one. He told friends and family he was hearing voices, that he'd been called to a higher purpose, to liberate souls. Psychiatrists later described this as florid psychosis, but no one intervened. He wasn't under treatment. He wasn't being watched. Just days before the attack, Marcus posted cryptic messages online, talking about death, sacrifice, and cleansing evil. He also strangled and skinned his own pet cat, Wizard, a grotesque act that investigators later described as a rehearsal. The next morning, April 30th, 2024, Marcus packed his Ford Transit van with 2 sharpened samurai swords, a pellet gun, a backpack of clothes, and the body of his dead cat. His destination, Hainault, East London. 9 miles away, Marcus drove his van into Donado Ewumi, a complete stranger. Dazed, Ewumi stumbled toward the driver's window, likely thinking it was an accident. But what emerged from the van wasn't an apology. It was Marcus Monzo, grinning, katana in hand. He whispered, "I'm going to kill you." Then, with terrifying precision, slashed Ewumi's neck, leaving him barely alive. Next, Daniel Angerin, a 14-year-old boy on his way to school, unknowingly walked into Marcus's path. Wearing headphones, Daniel couldn't hear the warnings shouted by neighbors. Marcus struck him from behind. The sword nearly decapitated the young teen. Even after Daniel collapsed, Marcus stabbed him again, in the chest. Daniel died on the pavement. Emergency calls poured in. An ambulance arrived within minutes, but Monzo was still there. Covered in blood, katana raised, he charged the ambulance, slashing the windshield, forcing medics to retreat. As armed police units arrived, Marcus fled into back gardens and alleys. He wasn't running, he was hunting. 2 officers tracked Marcus down in a side alley. Without warning, he lunged, slicing through the female officer's head and arm, exposing bone. Her colleague fought him off with a baton. Marcus disappeared again, this time breaking into a family home. Inside were Henry, his wife, and their 4-year-old daughter. Marcus crept into their bedroom. "Do you believe in God?" he whispered. Then he swung his blade. Henry's hand was nearly severed trying to protect his wife and child. Witnesses saw a blood-covered man running across rooftops, still clutching a sword. At 9:28 a.m., police cornered him. Despite being surrounded, Marcus refused to drop the weapon. He babbled about souls, liberation, and completing the mission. Officers were forced to use a taser. He collapsed, the sword clattering on the bricks. The trial was held at the Old Bailey, Britain's most prestigious criminal court. Marcus faced charges of murder of Daniel Angerin, 3 counts of attempted murder, grievous bodily harm, possession of a deadly weapon. In court, he appeared dazed, muttering about divine messages. His defense claimed diminished responsibility, citing his mental illness and ayahuasca-induced psychosis. But prosecutors argued the planning was deliberate. He bought the swords weeks in advance. He killed his cat as a test run. He chose a high-traffic time. He packed spare clothes and weapons. The jury agreed. On June 25, 2025, Justice Jeremy Johnson sentenced Marcus Monzo to life in prison, with a minimum of 38 years and 309 days before parole. The judge called his actions cold, calculated, cruel, a horror that terrorized an entire community. Daniel Angerin's death sparked nationwide grief. Candlelight vigils were held in Hainaut. Thousands donated to a memorial scholarship fund. The case also triggered a national review of weapon accessibility, mental health monitoring, spiritual retreats involving psychedelics. Monzo never expressed remorse. To this day, in a psychiatric wing of HMP Belmarsh, he insists he was guided by spirits to carry out a divine act. One sword, one man, one morning. It was all it took to destroy lives, families, and a nation's sense of peace. The story of Marcus Monzo is not just about madness. It's about what happens when obsession, mental illness, and violence are left unchecked. This is not just a true crime story. It's a warning. If this story moved you, please like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's most disturbing crimes.